praying for people, so we definitely want to do that. Some people think purgatory is like a second chance, that you die and then you get like this last chance to change your mind. Can you change your mind after death? No. So is purgatory a second chance? No. Purgatory is for people who are going to heaven. Only for people who are going to heaven. And it's not at all for people who are going to hell, but last chance purgatory? No, there is no last. Your last chance is while you are alive. And I don't know when your last chance is, so it could be right now. So live holy now. Because any one of us could die at any time, right? So let's live every day as if it's our last chance. Because we don't know. One day it will be. So, sometimes you might hear people who are people who are ignorant say, oh, the church doesn't teach purgatory anymore. But you will now know that the answer is, yes, the church does teach purgatory. You can find it right in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So you will hear people who will say lots of things because there's a lot of ignorance. But you guys will not be ignorant. You will be well educated and you'll be ready to be in a position to help people to know the truth, to live the truth, so that they might love and live the union of God. Yes? Because that's what we're all made for. So on that same note, like indulgences kind of comes into this category. Indulgences is the, and we talked about this a little bit, I believe, but indulgences is the remission of the temporal punishment due to sin. The temporal punishment due to sin. And so indulgences is one of those things that has oftentimes been misunderstood, and because of the misunderstanding, we've had huge problems. In other words, like Lutheranism. So, but does the church still have indulgences? And the answer is yes. And is the church ever going to get rid of indulgences? And the answer is no, because they're good. There's nothing to be ashamed of with indulgences. We're not embarrassed. Can people do bad things with indulgences? In the same way that they can do bad things with anything. If I were to decide, because I'm a horrible human being, which I'm easy enough, I could decide to be a horrible human being, I could say to, I could say to you all, if you want me to baptize you, you've got to pay me $100. And because you really want your children to be baptized, you'd shell out $200. And then I'd baptize your babies. Is baptism bad?
No.
No. What's bad? Me selling the baptism. The indulgences aren't wrong, but if some guy decides to start selling them, is that wrong? Yes. But it's not what he's selling that's wrong. It's that he's selling it that it's wrong. Baptism doesn't become wrong because I sell it for $200 a pour. The baptism is holy and good. We're not going to ever get rid of baptism. But if we start selling it, are we going to get rid of the simony, that is the sin of selling holy things? Yes. So, indulgence is good. Selling them, bad. Sometimes if you look in old prayer books, you'll see that it'll say this prayer has an indulgence of 500 days, 1 month, something like that. A mistake. Ignorance. Ignorance is always a problem because we have a fallen human mind. An ignorant thought was that means that's that many days, that many years off of purgatory. That is never what the church taught. It is what people believed because they were ignorant. But you guys will know the truth. What that meant was this is as if you were doing penance for 500 days, for a year. And it's our doing penance that is working off the temporal punishment due to sin. Remember that example of like you're playing baseball and you hit the ball and it goes through your neighbor's window. You're no longer have a relationship with your neighbor, right? You have broken into his house and violated him. He has a right to kill you now. Not really. But he has a right to never talk to you again because you've hurt his stuff. Particularly if maybe he had said, please don't play baseball in my front yard because you could break my windows. And these are brand new windows. I just put in Anderson windows, $500 a pop. So you go to the man and you say, I'm sorry. He says, I forgive you. Can you go to his barbecue on Saturday? Yes. But he's also going to say, pay for my windows. You can still come to my barbecue, but you got to pay for it. The windows, not the barbecue. The barbecue's for free because we're neighbors. Eternal punishment, hell. We can't go to God's barbecue. Temporal punishment, we got to pay for the broken windows. Indulgences work off that temporal punishment. Are there good things we can do to make things better? Absolutely. But ultimately, it's about love. Am I in relationship with God? Right? Does this make sense? All right. So we are going to not get rid of indulgences just because people did things wrong. So now, instead of labeling them by days or time, the church labels indulgences simply as either plenary or partial. Plenary means a fullness. It gets rid of the fullness of the temporal punishment due to sin, or partial. It gets rid of some of the punishment of the temporal punishment due to sin. We can have an indulgence. We can either give it to ourselves. Makes sense why you might want to do that. Or you can give it to somebody who's dead and give it to one of those people in purgatory. Are you giving it to somebody in heaven? No, because they don't need it. Are you giving it to somebody in hell? No, because they don't want it. So if you give it to somebody who's in heaven, what I always say is, I always like give it to Mary. And I'll say, Mary, you give it to the person who needs it. I think it's Bob. But Mary, you know if he's in heaven or hell, because I don't. And because she is with God, so she knows who's where. And if Bob doesn't need it, give it to somebody else. I trust her. She's a good mom. She will take care of whoever needs it.
So I've had someone recently pass away. How do you even know if they're in purgatory?
You don't.
So you just,
because we're not going to judge them. Because sometimes people will say that. They'll be like, oh, well, Bob's in a better place. He's in heaven now. I'm like, who are you to judge? You just named yourself Bob's judge? How dare you? How dare you say that he's in heaven? Because by saying that, you're implying that you could also decide that somebody's in hell. So don't you dare ever judge anybody as in heaven or in hell or in purgatory. Let God be the judge. You just be, I still love them, I'm going to pray for them. So I still pray for my dad, even though he's died in 2001. So 19 years, but I still pray for him. Do I hope that he doesn't need my prayers? Yeah. But what if he does? So I'm going to keep praying for him, just in case. So I'll quit praying for my dad when I die. And then I'll find out how many of my years of praying for him, Mary said, yeah, redirect.
I'm going to say, when they had the prayers for the dead at the Mass, I try to remember as many of my relatives I can, and ask to pray for them all the way back to the beginning of time.
Exactly. So you'll notice in the Mass that we always pray for the living and the dead. You can ask for a Mass to be said for that special intention. And so you would go to the parish office and ask because every time a priest celebrates Mass, he doesn't just celebrate generically for everyone, which he does, but he also has a particular intention that he offers each Mass for one specific thing. And so we let the secretaries worry about dealing with all that. And so you could go to the Mass and say, dear secretary, could you have a Mass offered for my grandmother, for my baby, for who was just born. I want, God to love him, whoever, any intention, living or dead, that you want. It can be kind of more generic. It can be like for my family, or it can be more specific for Michael Jones. Usually, there's you would give a little gift of like $10. Obviously, are we trying to make lots of money off of that? Absolutely not, clearly. Because probably on a Sunday collection, one Mass brings in a lot more money than $10, right? So it's obviously not about making money. So if you don't want to give a donation, you don't have to give a donation. But usually people do. And we've been doing $10 since I was born. I heard back in the day they only did 5. But at some point they upped it to 10. They've never upped it since. So you can give whatever you want. Though. You could give 0, you could give 5, you could give 10, you could give 100, you could give $5,000. I don't care. I will celebrate Mass for you no matter what. Because I'm not in the business of selling anything. So, questions, comments, debate, discussions, arguments, qualms, conundrums, concerns, queries, confusion. Then I will see you all, hopefully, God willing, please, tomorrow for our right of election.
Father,
Yes.
you're guilty of